Good morning, children. I am S. Chaurasia. Today, we will study the very first chapter of class 11th. Though this chapter is very vast, but today we will discuss only those things which are relevant to us, because if we keep on studying and discussing, it will take a long time. So let's go through some important topics of this. The name of the chapter is Physical World. The greatest scientist who had ever happened on this earth is Isaac Newton, and since he was the greatest scientist, so a word has been added to before his name, that is Sir. And in the honor of this scientist, a unit of a physical quantity has been given, and the name of that physical quantity is force. Earlier we have studied about force. Force is a push or a pull, or force is an external agent that causes the motion or changes the direction of a motion. But let us see what is the definition of force. Force, it is the rate of change of linear momentum. So this is a very important thing that you have to remember. What is a force? It is the rate of change of linear momentum. That is, force is directly proportional to dp by dt, where dp is change in the momentum and dt is the time for the change in this momentum dp. If we remove this proportionality sign, we will get the equal to sign, and the constant, the value we will get 1. So the definition of force will be equals to F is equals to dp by dt. This thing you have to remember always and ever. Now in this chapter we will study the fundamental forces in the nature. There are 4 fundamental forces in nature. First, strong nuclear force. Second, electromagnetic force. Third, weak nuclear force. And the fourth, gravitational force. This is the order of decreasing strength of their forces. So you can say that the strongest force in the nature is strong nuclear force, and the weakest force in the nature is gravitational force. So let us see about all these forces. The first force is strong nuclear force, and as I have already told you that it is the strongest force in the nature. And its properties, it is a very short range force. Yes, means it acts only up to a distance of 10 to the power minus 15 meter, means it will act only within the nucleus, and you also know the size of the nucleus is of the order of 10 to the power minus 15 meter. So when this nuclear force is acting, then the particle that is being exchanged between the particles is mesons, and there are 3 types of meson: pi plus, pi minus, and pi naught. And where it acts between nucleons and heavy elementary particles. Means you know that nucleons consist of protons and neutrons. So the nuclear force will act between proton and proton. It will act between neutron and neutron, and it will also act between neutron and proton. And any other heavy particle, elementary particle is there. In that case also the strong nuclear force will act. The second strongest force in the nature is electromagnetic force. Yes. As you can see, thus it consists of 2 words, electro and magnetic. Yes. So it is the second strongest force. If you compare with the strong nuclear force, if its strength is 1, then the strength of the electromagnetic force will be of the order of 10 to the power minus 2. It is a long range, or you can say that it can act up to an infinite distance. And how it is acting? It is acting due to the gamma photons. You might have studied in the earlier classes in radioactivity, the alpha, beta and the third particle that is coming is gamma, and it acts between those particles which are charged. Means if there is a positive charge, they will repel. If it's negative, then they will also repel, and if you are having positive and negative, then that attracts. Yes, so this electromagnetic force could be repulsive as well as attractive. Opposite attract, like repel. Now the third strongest force is the weak nuclear force. So if we taking the relative strength of a strong nuclear 1, electromagnetic force 10 to the power minus 2, then the weak nuclear force have the order of 10 to the power minus 13. And it is a very short range, or you can say that it is the shortest range force in the nature. Yes, it's act up to distance only of 10 to the power minus 16 or 10 to the power minus 17 meter. Yes, and the particle which is being exchanged is the vector boson, that is omega plus minus or z naught. In this case, some elementary particles like electrons and neutrino, how they interact with each other? They interact with the help of the weak nuclear forces. And the last force, or you can also say that the weakest force in the nature, is the gravitational force. Yes, and the gravitational force relative strength in comparison to a strong nuclear force can be of 10 to the power minus 39 order. Yes, it is also a long range force, means we can say that it will act up to an infinite distance, and the particle being exchanged is graviton. And where the gravitational force will act? It will act between all those particles which are having the mass. If a particle is having mass, then the gravitational force will act. Means suppose that there are two photons, then between the photons, if they are at rest, then no force will act, because a photon at rest has zero mass, so it will not act. So it will act between sun and earth. Why? Because sun and earth are having the mass, and any two massy bodies, there is always attraction. No two massive body can repel each other. So this is the one strong difference between the electromagnetic force and the gravitational force. Both are long range force, and electromagnetic force is attractive as well as repulsive, but gravitational force is always attractive. Yes, we are able to on this earth only because of this gravitational force. If there would be no gravitational force, we will have been gone into the space. The cause of lights, that is also due to the gravitational pull of the sun and the moon. Yes, we are able to stand physical activities that we are doing in our day-to-day life is only because of the electromagnetic force. If there will no electromagnetic force, it will be very hard to write, stand and move. Yes. So the force that is acting is electromagnetic force that is acting in all our day-to-day life. And how the nucleus is being stable, though it is having the proton and both are positively charged, and you know that positive charge repel each other. It is stable because of the strong nuclear force which is binding the nucleus. Yes, so this is all about the fundamental forces in the nature. See here, I have already made one more relative strength column. So suppose that the gravitational force strength is 1, then the weak nuclear force strength will be 10 to the power 26, electromagnetic force strength will be 10 to the power 37, and the strong nuclear force will have the strength of 10 to the power 39. So this is the relative strength in the increasing as well as decreasing order. Both I have shown this. If you go from up to down, the relative strength will decrease, and if you're going from bottom to up, relative strength will increase, and coming from up to down, relative strength will decrease. Yes. Now in exam, some questions are asked. Let us see one question. name the second strongest force in nature and its characteristic. Suppose that this question has been asked that name the second strongest force in the nature. Yes. So the answer will be, if you see the second strongest force in the nature, that is the electromagnetic force. Now its properties. First property, you can say that it is 10 to the power minus 2 times stronger than strongest force. Second thing, it is long range force. Third, the exchange particle is gamma photon. Third thing, you can write it is attractive as well as repulsive. And see in the all the things I have included, and you can also write all our daily work is done by this force. Okay, so this is all about the basic forces in the nature. Okay, thank you.